Welcome back to Master Learn. This topic could go for ages. There are multiple tips one could provide on this idea of creative insight. So we're just going to concentrate on one, and it may appear counterintuitive. When we're talking about creative insight, we're talking about not just any insight. We're talking about the kind that is more original that comes from within. Insight can come from inspiration externally, of course. We read an article, we may watch a video, we may watch a movie, and I utilize all of those methods to generate inspirations and insight. But the more original kind of content tends to come from within. In a way, it's considered an immaculate conception, and not to go too deep on the metaphysical in this particular video. It's not its purpose. But we can gauge how potent our creative original insight is based on how often we're able to generate insight from within to the external, rather than having to be told something and then we have an idea. The Immaculate Conception in the older texts reference the ability of, in this case, the Virgin Mary being able to produce a child without a male relationship, being able to conceive without any spark from the masculine, which we know. We don't need to go too deep into the topic here, but we know that that just doesn't happen. There's always an element of the masculine and the feminine coming together. In any case, the the Immaculate Conception that we're able to produce internally in regards to ideas also operates within the masculine and feminine energies. At the same time, we have to create an environment that supports this kind of self-actualization or self-initiating activity. So for this particular tip here, I would say to do nothing. And this may appear counterintuitive to harnessing creativity. How does one do nothing and be able to manifest creative insight or original ideas? Well, it's because the idea of doing nothing really isn't about not doing anything. It is about a type of nothing, where we are facilitating a space that removes or reduces as much as possible external stimulation, meaning television, video, text messages, audios, things like this that are providing content that is more intrusive into for our attention. We want to remove or reduce as much as possible that kind of influence. Some more practical tips here would be taking a walk, and this is a type of passive engagement. So you just go outside and walk. It's walking around the block. Just do that a few times. Commit to a few laps, just walk around, or you could jog if you wanted to. Go to the park and just facilitate the experience of walking. And as you're walking, you're glancing around and seeing things. You're actively not intending to absorb information. And so it sort of puts you into this more relaxed state, more of a passive state, or what we would be really getting at here is looking to induce a trance state, which creates the gateway that opens up the access to the subconscious. And in the subconscious is where these kinds of more original generating ideas can be sourced from. Another is sky gazing. So if you're at the park, or if you are doing walking, maybe just sitting down at the bench and just look around, watch the sky. The sky in itself is always in movement, especially the clouds, right? The birds, things may be floating in the air, a balloon might pass your attention, but for the most part, it is a relatively slow and static environment up there. So as you are looking, you're looking at sort of a painting, a very slow moving painting, and that can help create the trance state. And in that more meditative environment, insights can start to come to the surface. These are ideas or things that already exist within you. And sometimes it's just harder to access because of the external stimulation constantly entering your field of attention. And so when that information enters your field of attention, you are directing your focus there as opposed to directing your focus inward, which is where the information, or the original insight can be. Next is meditation. And this could be your classic sitting down and perhaps not engaging in active breath work or a more active or masculine oriented type of meditation where you are trying to produce an effect. Perhaps just sitting quietly, eyes closed. There's quiet or silence or reduced noise as much as possible, and you're just sitting there and allowing, as your eyes are not receiving information because they're open, they're closed, you are allowing yourself to naturally or gradually enter the trance state so you can listen or quote unquote hear what is already churning or trying to emerge as an idea from yourself. And then if you prefer not to do the meditation, sitting in silence is another one. That's another practical way to do this. Just sit down. So you could sit down, you can have your eyes closed. You don't have to do a meditation. You don't have to sit in a lotus pose. You could just really sit in a chair and make sure that you're comfortable and well rested and relaxed, and just let your eyes be closed and just sit and have the patience to engage that kind of space where it is quiet and you're not necessarily doing anything active or external focused. There's so many ways to apply this idea of the doing nothing, but remember, it is not about laziness. It is not about being a sloth. The do nothing also, when we're talking about the more of the ancient kind of perspective on do nothing, or like the wu wei, wu wei, the effortless action or the no action. These contradictory or seemingly contradictory statements, they don't mean literally to not do anything. It is sort of a merging of the active and the passive, the merging of knowing when to take action and knowing when to wait, knowing when to sit back and observe, knowing when to move, knowing when to pause, knowing when to talk, knowing when to be silent. It's a dance, all encapsulated with the yin and the yang symbol. It's a relationship. So leaning on one side too much creates excess and imbalance. In this particular conversation, that imbalance would be the lack of access to creative insight emerging from within. And so we can see that even though we're talking about the immaculate conception, right, of the idea, there's still the masculine and feminine taking place. There's a harmony, there's a relationship between the two energies, the two approaches that produce this originating manifestation, this originating idea. Any questions? Feel free to send me an email or visit my education platform, masterlearn.co. I hope this was useful. You can also check out my work on my blog, crownofmind.com. Be well.